Welcome to another edition here of Flying the Metal Flag. And Ben and I had the great thrill of talking to Matt of Ashes of Ares, a great band that was, of course, founded by Matt and one of the great drummers of our time, Van Williams of Nevermore. And they've just brought out their new album, New Messiahs, which I have a copy here right in my hand. It is a fantastic album, and I love the song Two Graves. And it also features a song about one of Marvel's great characters, Ghost Rider. It's a great album. Totally recommend it. And we got to talk to Matt about many things. So sit back and relax. Ben and I had a great time doing this interview. This is Matt, our lead vocalist of Ashes of Ares, here on Flying the Metal Flag.
What's happening, gentlemen?
G'day, Matt. How are you? I'm Craig, and this is Ben here.
How are you, mate?
Hey, man. Good to meet you guys. How are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you too. We're very well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
So, welcome to our show. It's called Flying the Metal Flag.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No worries.
Welcome, man.
Well, thank you for being on our show. So, first of all, congratulations on this new album, and it's very rare for us to actually have a copy of it here. New
Hey, how about that?
Messiah. It's brilliant, we have to say. It's a great album because I had to buy it because it's that good. Um, so first of
Thank you,
all,
man.
it's been a while in the making. How did it go making this album?
Yeah, it was good, man. It was really good. I think Freddie and I are now into a groove, with our fourth record. We're definitely into a groove as far as that's concerned. We actually had this record done about a year ago, so we were actually ahead of the curve. But we did get a bit of a curveball when our label combined with Reigning Phoenix. So we were on Rock of Angels Records, which is a Greek label, and then they merged with a German label, and so it's now it's a Greek German label. So we basically became fish in a larger pond, so to speak. So it just took a little while longer, and I get it. That's business. You've got so many bands on your label, and you try to take the time to promote each one of them and get them out there and do all this other stuff. So we totally understand how that whole thing works. But it was just really rough, kind of sitting on this record for a year, before anybody could hear it. So.
Oh well, it's fantastic though that you're on a much bigger pond. So that must be
Yes.
really good for the band as well.
It is, man. We've got a lot of really cool label mates. So we're really happy where we are. We're really happy with the company. I mean, Rock of Angels is still part of the original crew is still part of the new, and they've always worked really well for us, man. So Lambros is one of our guys that has worked with us for years now, and and then Aki, with Rock of Angels, they're like family, So it's just a very cool thing, and so we just became kind of a part of a larger family.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
brilliant. Yeah, I was just wondering how you came about with the name, the Ashes of Ares. It's a little bit different. Yeah, I,
Yeah, yeah. The name of the band, is sort of one that I thought of, and I floated it to Freddie, and at the time Van Williams, who was part of the band before the first record, and because we were trying to think of a name, we we all kind of came from bands with kind of iconic references with Iced Earth and with Nevermore, and so we wanted something that would be catchy and kind of hit, and I floated the name of the band, uh, basically the idea and the concept, and because I like duality, and I do that in like a lot of lyrics and things like that. I like people to kind of guess what things are as far as lyrics or how they go. I like to play around with words, and that's kind of, I don't know, who I am. And so when I was thinking of Ashes of Ares, I thought it could be, two meaning concept. Either humanity reaches a point where we no longer have war, therefore the god of war Ares is no longer needed, and so therefore his ashes, right? Ashes of Ares. Or the other one, humanity has reached a point where we completely fall into war and total utter chaos, and then we are the ashes. So that's kind of the duality, and that was sort of how I floated it to those guys, and they bought it. So I guess I succeeded with that. So yeah, that's kind of like my thought of it is what the band name means. So and you'll see in our songs there's a lot of duality within the lyrics, because I think that's cool. I think wordplay is fun, and it's kind of what I do. So
Yeah, wordplay is great. There's so much so many ways of saying things and getting the message out there that you'd like to achieve from the album and from yourselves and all that. Jeez,
yeah, yeah.
Well, one song that really stuck out for me is Two Graves, which I think is the potent reality of revenge. How did that song come about?
Yeah, because it like came from an old proverb that I heard, and I thought, what a cool concept, and what a cool idea for to be able to kind of put that into a song. And that's basically what it is. It starts out with the very first lyrics. He who seeks revenge should dig two graves, because that's ultimately that's what vengeance will get you. It'll get you. It may get your enemy in the grave, but chances are you're going to be there as well. So that for me is what it is. And if not physically in the grave, then the consequences of you seeking revenge are probably going to hollow out your soul. So that's the sort of for me, the duality of it. That's the way that I kind of took the old proverb, and so I thought it would be fun to do a song about that. So
Yeah, I just like that concept of the two graves and one for your soul. I reckon that's really strong stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you must also be a comic fan, are you, Matt?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. I'm a nerd for sure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
we all got a bit of nerdiness.
So,
Yeah.
Ghost Rider one of your favorites?
Uh, he is, and but what's funny is this is one that actually Freddie was like, "Hey man, we've been doing all these comic characters, but we got to do Ghost Rider because I'm a huge Nick Cage fan," which apparently he is. I think he's watched every Nick Cage movie. I don't know how he has that much time, because Nicolas Cage, you know, do like 20 movies a year or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, and I do like Nick Cage as well, and I liked his portrayal of Johnny Blaze, and I really love the character, the Ghost Rider. I've been fascinated with him for as long as as long as I've been alive. I think back in the 70s when Ghost Rider was really popular in comic form. I was a huge fan of him then. I was a big fan. I was actually a big fan of like a lot of what are now kind of the I don't know, the bad boys of Marvel. Punisher, Blade, and which we've done tributes to all those guys. So I would imagine we'll continue doing that. As long as the comic book companies don't get upset that we're paying tribute to their characters, because we're certainly not in it for the money. It's totally a tribute to these things that kind of have inspired me for sure. I just think comics are super cool, and I've just always kind of been akin to that. I think that it's sort of modern mythology. That's the way that I see comics. It's kind of like what people used to think of I don't know, just the gods and things like that back in the day. Whenever the storytellers would make up the stories about the gods and how they affected our lives and things like that. I think that's sort of what comics are for us, for those of us that really enjoy it and appreciate the fantasy aspect of it, and the I don't know, just the play on human nature. There's, again, there's a lot of cool things about it. I think it's one of the reasons why like Batman is so popular, because it's it that character links in so well with so many of our kind of like our dark fantasies of justice and things, doing things, and much the same way Ghost Rider, he's the ghost of vengeance, right? And we were just talking about that, as far as Two Graves is concerned. That's the reality of humanity. But if we, sometimes we get into the darker side of our nature, and that's the kind of stuff that we're really fascinated by, is that idea of a creature or something that, or us becoming a creature of vengeance. So it's yeah, it's cool stuff, man. I don't know. I've just always been into big, fantasy stuff, comic books, science fiction, because I think it's just cool. It's I tend to think that it is, I don't know. There's a little bit of psychology, I think that's one of the things that makes it so fascinating for people.
Yeah. Well, we can tell you actually a bit of a fact that our state here in Australia, Victoria, was where Ghost Rider was actually filmed, the Nick Cage film, and
Nice.
our city, Geelong, stood in for Texas.
Wow, that's cool. How about that?
Yeah.
Did you guys do any stand-in parts or anything like that?
We would have loved to. I remember I walked past in Melbourne when they were filming at one stage or another, but yeah, that was a few years ago now. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that was a big production in Victoria at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool, man.
Yeah. So yeah, but with Batman as well, I think what I love about Batman, because he's my favorite character, is the fact that he's real, because he doesn't have superpowers as well. So which is
Right.
what I like about him.
I think
Yep.
the old joke goes, there's how many billionaires in the world and none of them are Batman.
That you're aware of, right? You
Yeah,
don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's part of it too. So you've got the idea. So that melds in a couple of different things about humanity. Everybody, tends to think, man, if I was a billionaire, back when Batman was created, Bob Kane, obviously a millionaire was a huge deal, right? So he was, Bruce Wayne was a millionaire, and if you had that kind of money, what would you do with it? And of course, that harkens back to, obviously, I think that it goes back to characters like Zorro. Even you got somebody who's rich, who does the bidding for poor people, or you could even go back as far, Robin Hood, that story. I mean, all these things are kind of related, right? So humans kind of create these characters for a person that was of nobility or is rich or something like that, and then they're using that to help the poor people. And I think people want that. I think people kind of yearn for that. Like they want to believe, hey, if this person has this much, they're not going to forget us down here. They're going to be there to help us, protect us. Robin Hood, steal from the rich, give to the poor. Batman, take care of criminals so that we're not terrified in our city. That whole thing. And I think you see that those characters really resonate with people, and there's got to be something to it. There's got to be some part of our psyche that we go, yes, that's what we should have. Even go Tony Stark, go over to Marvel, Iron Man, billionaire, uses his influence and his intelligence to do the right thing. Now Tony was he was over here for a little bit, not doing the right thing, but when he had a revelation in his life, then here you go. Then he changes his thing. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said about those characters and how they affect us in mass. How why is it that we're so fascinated with that? But and I don't have the answer. I think it probably it's just something about that idea of hey, if I had $1 billion, I would do the right thing. If I had $1 billion, because most of us don't, right? I mean,
right,
once you become a billion, but I don't know what that even means, because I can't even fathom that, right? What would you do? I mean, I'm hoping that billionaires are doing, and I think that a lot of them do. I think that they do. Obviously they're not out there in ballistic armor taking down the bad guys, at least as far as I know. But they are doing other things, benevolent things, building hospitals, creating things that are going to better humanity, send us to Mars or whatever, just things of that nature, which hopefully, hopefully there is that idea in them that they're using their money to the best of their ability to better humanity. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know if that's the case for everybody, but I don't know. So, but I would just throw that out there.
That's brilliant.
Well, you're not exactly a billionaire yourself, but I guess you're a superhero in a way because not only are you a heavy metal singer, but you're also a police officer as well.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all that?
Uh, well, just carefully, you just gotta do it. I'm in a pretty good situation, with, again, with our label, who are very, very generous as far as that's concerned. I'm not able to tour a lot because of my other career. And, so, it's tough. It's tough doing that part of it. It's much easier doing the recording part of it, because I can do most of that at my home in my home studio. But still, it's hard to balance it sometimes, that and with family and everything else. But I do it because I really love creating music, and so as long as I can continue to do that, I will continue to do it. It's just kind of part of who I am.
And to have the opportunity to create something that sort of speaks to people and inspires them.
Yeah, I hope so, man. That's the point, right? I mean, that's certainly a big part of it for me. I- you know, I do things like Freddie and I write music because we really enjoy what we're writing, and we, so sometimes we just stop and go, this isn't working, and we'll go on to something else. We do it because we want it to be, give us joy, right? And then hopefully at the same time we're giving joy to others. And I think by tapping into the things that we enjoyed as music listeners for, since we were kids, especially specifically heavy metal listeners, we kind of know what fans like. So like the topics and things like that, the either whether it be the comic stuff or other fantasy things, or maybe some sort of social statement, or social, touching on social issues or whatever. I mean, those are all things that like all of our heroes touched on, right? When we were coming up, everything from everyone from, Maiden, Sabbath, Metallica, Judas Priest, you name it. All those guys touched on all that stuff, and so we had a pretty decent, cipher there, or whatever the terminology would be, codex or whatever, something to inspire us to continue on that path. And so obviously we try to do it Ashes of ARES, but at the same time we're paying tribute to all those people that gave us joy when we were coming up and listening, and we're big fans of these bands. So hopefully we're doing that. Hopefully we're paying tribute to them, paying tribute to ourselves and to our fans, and hopefully everybody's happy. Not everybody's happy. Let's be honest. No, nobody's always gonna what we do, but at the same time, hopefully the majority of folks that we write this music for are happy with it.
You're never gonna, yeah, that's right. You're never gonna make the world a better place as much as you try.
Yeah. Well,
But I think you're doing a good job, though.
no, I appreciate it. We're doing the best we can.
It's a fantastic album. In fact, the entire 4 albums that you guys have produced are fantastic, and I think you're growing with each release as well. Is that something that you're noticing as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think just basically in knowing each other, as far as Freddie and I, we have to record. We live in 2 different places in the U.S. I live on the East Coast and he lives out closer to the West Coast. So it's it's something that we've learned to do and learned to adapt, and trading files back and forth, and talking with each other through email and text and phone and all this stuff. So, but we've kind of we kind of know what each other is thinking in a lot of respects. Like if I say, hey man, I did this to the song, and I added, I took this piece and I attached it here, and I added another measure, and I'm going to do this thing with my vocals, and I need you to do some, like a guitar thing, like a call and answer part or whatever. He gets what I'm saying, and I don't even really have to, all I have to do is just sort of describe it, and he just, gets in there and nails it, And so I think that we're definitely becoming, closer as far as the our ability to communicate with one another, and like what we want to do these songs. So and of course it's getting used to doing it ourselves as well, because we have a limited budget. We don't have a huge budget, so what we do have, we try to really focus on the mix and the mastering, or the drums. We have to drum. We have to pay for drums or somebody to drum, and to do a room. Either rent the room, like on this past record, we had to rent the studio time to do the drums and all that stuff. So that's where the money goes to. As far as the other stuff, like what I do and what Freddie does, we do it in our home studios, and then we take it there for the mix and all that. So it's it's what we got to do, but we figure out, we do the best we can to use that money to the best of our advantage. And so I think all those things combined make us better at what we're doing, because we're figuring out how to do things for less and do it quicker even. Like I said, this record was done actually in probably record time, considering the last record, but it just got delayed because of the merger and all that. So it is what it is, man. We'll try to get another one out sooner rather than later, but we've just been kind of waiting on this one to see what people thought and if we're going in the right direction.
Beautiful. So the album is New Messiahs, and the band is Ashes of ARES, and it is out now in Europe, but it will be released on the 8th of August in the US of A. And it is a fantastic release. So thank you very much for releasing it, Matt. And I've got the last question, which is, what's the best thing about metal?
The best thing about metal, I would say, is the camaraderie. I think that anytime I go to a metal show, or anytime I've been to a festival or anything like that, it amazes me the camaraderie that everybody has, and the respect that everybody has for each other. I maybe it exists other places. I don't know, but it just seems to me that within the metal community, it has always been very welcoming. And this is kind of from a guy, a nerdy guy, a guy who started out as going to shows and just being a nerd, and not really knowing people. And I'll give, for instance, man, or a couple for instances, actually. Couple of my favorite bands. One is Forbidden. Went to see them back in Pasadena, Maryland, and Network when I was young, probably 17, 18 years old. And talking with the guys from the band, they were completely cool, and just I was like kind of awestruck and all that. And I just thought, what great guys, man. And then I went to I went to see Pantera one time at Hammerjacks over in Baltimore, and those guys, that was actually the first leg of their Cowboys from Hell tour. They were traveling around in a Winnebago type van, pulling a trailer and all that. And I was actually 20 years old, and it was a 21 and up show, and they got me in. They got me into the club, even though I was just some dude, and there was like I'm not going to say a handful of people, maybe like 100 people there for that show, because people didn't really know who Pantera was at the time. They was like, they were new, and but they were just totally cool. Got me into the show. Just like so many of these things where just like the metal community, not and the fans and the bands, are just have always been, to me, just like a step up. You know what I mean? They just, I don't know, just the camaraderie, man, just the friendship, the brotherhood, whatever you want to call it.
The passion for the bands, the music, the lyrics, everything. It's community.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time, Matt. And hopefully, if you are able to tour, we'd love to see you in Australia.
Yeah, we would love to get there. And so, so hopefully, maybe, some local promoters or what have you might want to get us over there, and we can certainly talk about that. We would love to come over. It just takes the local promoters to be able to get us over there. Obviously that's how that whole thing works. So, there's some fans out there, some Australian Ashes fans, and they want to see us. Try to get the local promoters to, give us a shout. We'll see what we can do.
No worries. Well, thanks again for your time, Matt, and we wish you and Freddie, the band, the very best with everything you do, the album, and thanks for your time.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys.
It's
No worries.
really great to meet you, sir. And,
yeah, nice meeting you.
Take care and have a really good week.
All right, gentlemen. You too.
No worries.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Later.
Roll.
Thank you so much for watching this interview here on Flying the Metal Flag. I really hope you enjoyed it, and so does Ben. So we would greatly appreciate it if you click the like button, or even better, subscribe to this channel, because there's so many interviews that are coming soon. So please stick around for them and even more, and even the ones that are here already. So please take care and keep it excessive, but most of all, let your metal flag fly high.